Hey guys, so we're just gonna be doing some crafts today. Hope you enjoyed looking directly into my eyeballs. So these are just like a couple of projects I've been putting off for a while, so I thought I'd just make a short little video about them. So one of the first projects I had was cutting out this stencil, so right now I'm putting tape over it to make it a little bit more durable. I just printed off these images on my school printer, and I'm just gonna cut them out. And I won't be using the stencil once I'm done with it in this video, but I will definitely be using it for future videos for textile projects where I'm like painting over top of the fabric and I'll make like a patch or whatever. I'm just using an X-Acto knife to do this. So this first one I'm doing, it says, "I am Whimsy, I am Grace," and it's got this cute little unicorn with stars, and I thought that was super funny because my name is Grace and I'm trying to be more whimsy, I guess, if that makes sense. I'll probably turn this into a patch later on. And then I have two little fairies, which I don't really have any plans for that yet, but I'll probably find something cute to do with it. And then I have these this bundle of little stars there at the bottom, which I did start cutting them out, but I kind of gave up on it because they were just way too small, and I actually ended up ripping the paper. So I was like, it's just not really worth it to try and cut out this tiny of a star. And then at the bottom I have these flames, which, same thing as the fairies, I don't have anything specific planned for them yet, but I probably will use them in some sort of patch design. And then at the top I have the no smoking symbol, because I was watching a bunch of Adventure Time, and I was thinking about that t-shirt that Marceline has, so I went ahead and just added that to the top corner of the page. I actually have another stencil that is on the same type of paper as this, where it's just a half and half, and one half of it is a cheetah print and the other half is a zebra print, so you'll definitely see me using that in future videos also. This video actually took me a little bit longer to put out because no one ever tells you how long it actually takes to edit a video, and it's probably the most boring thing I've ever done aside from school. But I am still kind of getting used to editing and figuring out the lighting on my desk and stuff. So if you guys see any really bad glare, or the camera is kind of off center to what I'm actually doing, I apologize for that, because it's when you're recording, you not only have to point your camera towards what you're doing, but actually make sure that you stay in frame. And whenever I'm working on projects with paper, I move the page around a lot, so that way I can get the angle of my hand right for when I'm drawing lines, or even cutting out stencils like this, so that way I don't I guess mess it up. So I'm still kind of getting used to making sure that I'm keeping everything in frame. And also, when you have to record everything that you're doing, it takes so much longer to complete the projects, because I keep going back and forth between recording, doing the projects, and then editing it on my computer, and then doing more of the project, and then going back and editing, because the SD card on my camera, it's actually pretty small. It's only 32 bits of storage or whatever, so I keep having to go onto my computer, download all of the files onto my computer, and then clear out the card reader before I could start recording again. So that's definitely been a bit of what the holdup has been for when I'm doing these videos, but I'm getting more used to it as I keep making them. And also, here's some snippets of me talking to myself while I was doing this. "What are you gonna do to stop me? Your long toothpick legs." I just ripped it. I don't know if that's worth it. I'm an ad and I'm annoying. Have you ever had a dream that you that you could do anything? Excuse me. Alright, so this is the finished stencil. It's a little janky, but that's okay. I still think it turned out pretty good. Okay, so for this next project, I'm going to be using some Crayola air dry clay, and I'm actually going to be making this ceramic ashtray that I found off of Pinterest, and it's themed after car seat headrest. I won't be using it as an ashtray because that'd like ruin the paint job. There'd literally be no point in painting it to even make it look like that. But also because I would rather use it to like hold some trinkets or something. I don't know yet. But I sort of just used a pinch pot method to get the shape, and then here I am just kind of like smoothing everything out with some water to get rid of like all of the cracks and all that. It's a little bit misshapen because I just like used my hands, but honestly I'm not too I don't hate it, you know? I don't hate the misshapen look. And then here I am just using one of my palette knives to cut out the little grooves, I guess, that ashtrays usually have. I guess I don't really need them there, but I thought I'd just put them in to keep the aesthetic of the picture of the whole, like, theme of the song, if that makes sense. Honestly, Twin Fantasy is probably one of my favorite albums by them. But I mean, who doesn't love that album? Like, I remember the first time like listening to it, like really listening to the full album, and it's just amazing in every way. It's just amazing. Like, if you haven't listened to it yet, you need to go listen to Twin Fantasy by Car Seat Headrest. One of my all-time favorite songs is probably Something Soon from their Teens of Style album. Love that song. I wish people talked about it more, honestly. And then here I am just carving my initials into the bottom, and then later on I also carve the date onto the bottom. And then I decided to put car seat headrest, write it onto the sides, and I kind of just carve that in, which later I go over top of it with some paint, which I thought looked really nice. And then again, the letters are kind of jagged looking, but I honestly feel like it kind of fits their vibe, I guess, if you want to call it that. I feel like it fits the vibe of the band itself, but I don't know, that's just me. And then after I was done doing all of that, I had to wait around 2 to 3 days for the whole thing to dry, and so I just set it right there on top of my desk to wait to paint it. And then while I was waiting on that, I went ahead and started on my next project, which is going to be making my own buttons. So if you haven't known this already, you can actually cut out the top of, or I guess the bottom of your cans, and this little bit at the bottom, when you just kind of trim around the sides of it, it turns into this little button shape. And what I do is I take some pretty thin cardboard and I just make a circle going around the shape of the bottom of the can that I cut out, and then you can use any glue that you want, but I just use hot glue and I just kind of stick it onto the cutout cardboard, and then I just kind of go around the edges with some more hot glue. There was probably a cleaner way that I could have done this, so that way it didn't look so like I don't know, I guess like built up on the sides. It kind of looked a little bit more clean cut, but I'm honestly not too worried about it because I like the way that they ended up turning out anyways. And then you just take a bottle tab and then you just kind of like bend it in half and you take your safety pin and put it through there, and then you hot glue the piece to the back of your cardboard. Getting back to it, I went ahead and just painted these with some acrylic paint. I actually tried to sand them down with a nail file before this, because I was kind of worried about if the paint would stick very well, but it really didn't need to be sanded down. I thought the paint kind of stuck pretty well already. I'm just using plain white acrylic paint. And while we're waiting for this to dry, let's take a quick nature segment to look at some ducks. So after they were all done drying, I took this one just to use as like a little test bin, because I was using the Artex acrylic markers, and I actually haven't used them on anything other than like paper really. So I just did like some little like flowers, and here I am testing like layering on like the green on top of the purple. I had to do a couple coats of it, but that's pretty normal, so I was actually really impressed with how well they work and how like pigmented they are. So they worked really nicely and I really enjoyed using them. So if you guys didn't know, it is Pride Month, so I went ahead and decided to make a little pride pin for myself, and I am doing the gender fluid and pansexual flag. It's not really something that I talk about a whole lot because I just don't really care to label myself, I guess, but it's just easier to, like, if I had to put a term to it, that's what it would be, but it's just not something I generally, like, bring up a whole lot, but, you know, I thought since it was Pride Month, I'd go ahead and make something for myself. And of course make sure that you guys are staying safe out there because of everything that's happening, you know, in the world right now. So just make sure that you're being careful with the people that you're around. So later on I did actually go back and add a cute little star detail on top of this, just like a little cute black star outline. I'll show it at the end of this, but I did go back and add that in later on. And then for this second one that I did a cute little ladybug. I don't know why, but when I was looking for a red, I didn't see it the first time I looked, so I thought the pack of markers I had just didn't come with a red. It did have a red, I just did not see it even though it was right there in front of my face. So I ended up using this like dark maroon color, which was a little bit too dark for me. I did go over top of it with like a pink, but it kind of looked weird at the end, but I guess it turned out okay still, so it's fine. And then instead of doing polka dots with the black marker, I did like some little hearts, which I thought was a nice little detail. And I know I've mentioned it before, but I recently just finished rewatching all 10 seasons of Adventure Time, so of course I had to go ahead and make a Finn the Human pin. And then, of course, to go along with that, I had to make a pin for Jake also to match. So these are the 5 pins that I made. I also made a I Love Human Art pin because I don't like AI, and then you can see the little star detail that I did on top of my pride pin. Okay, so I went ahead and did a white acrylic paint base, and now I didn't do the bottom because I don't know, you just don't usually do the bottom, I guess. But yeah, so it's ready for the black paint, but I was thinking instead of trying to struggle with the black paint and like a tiny paintbrush, that I would just go in again with the Artex paint marker. Because I really like using them for the pins, so I thought it'd be cute if I just did it with the for my tray also. So let's just go ahead and start doing that. This was honestly a little bit hard to do because I was trying to line it up with the carving that, like the letters that I carved out, and I like could barely see them, and I don't know if it was because I wasn't wearing my glasses, or if it just like somehow faded after I put the white paint on. I don't know. But also it was just a really weird angle that I was holding the tray at because I was trying to hold it up to the camera. I'm still getting used to like angling my camera correctly so that way you can see what I'm working on, but it's still I don't know. It's just been such a learning curve, and I'm still just getting used to it. So hopefully in future videos it will look a little bit better and it will be easier. So here I'm just going in with a pencil to trace out what I'm doing because I'm just freehanding it. And originally I was just going to go straight in with the marker, but I knew I'd probably disproportion it a little bit, so I just went in with the pencil instead to be safe, and I just kind of erased it a little bit before I went back in with the marker to trace over it. Looks pretty damn good. Of course, it's by no means perfect, but I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. It's all done. Keep all of my rings in there. Yep, that's what it was for this whole time, all of my rings. Yes, yes. And I already have a nice little home for it right here in front of my CD player. Actually, maybe I'll move these. That way it's right here in the corner. Yeah, I like that better. Alright, well there it is. Nice. These shells and rocks I found. Ooh, so pretty. Back at the crib.